Hello, everyone. I think you all can see my screen now. We're starting the webinar on circularity, textile reuse in the fashion industry. Welcome and thanks for joining us today. My name is Inge Baars and I'm the Sustainability Manager at Cycleon. We're excited to have you here today and to share some insights from our guest speakers. They will be sharing with you how to decide on the circularity option for your business and what are some examples and learnings from the industry. Since the circularity market is still in development, our goal today is not to just show you how it can be done, but also to open up a conversation. So we welcome your questions throughout this event in the Q&A tab on the right side of your screen. And additionally, we'll have some poll questions during the webinar through which we will collect your input and feedback. And after today's webinar, we will not be sharing the exact slides from our guest speakers, but we will be sending you a recording of this event. So to show you the agenda of today, I'll start off with a very short introduction by myself, followed by our guest speakers from ElevenRadius, Monica and Tara. And after that, Willem from Patagonia will continue with some insights, after which we'll have some time for a panel discussion. If you have any questions for the speakers, again, please share these in the Q&A and we'll try to include these in the panel discussion as well. So to shortly introduce why we are hosting this webinar about circularity today. The fashion industry, as probably most of you know, is quite polluting and is not using the planet's resources sustainably. Since this is not new information for the apparel producers, but is now also being picked up by the consumer market, they are becoming more and more aware of this challenge. And we can see this change in awareness and behavior just by looking at some of the social media platforms. All kinds of instructions videos show how consumers are taking circularity into their own hands. Videos and blog posts show how to easily repair clothes and how to reuse and repurpose materials. You can see a few examples that we posted here with a few hashtags that we found occurring mostly. Now, apart from social media, we at Cycleon have also conducted our own consumer survey with results showing that 79% of consumers are changing their purchasing preferences based on sustainability, and 76% consider the use of sustainable materials to be an important purchasing factor. And additionally, clothing swap events and stores events are becoming more common. The secondhand market is growing in popularity and its market value is forecasted to more than double in the next 3 years in the USA alone. So these are quite some numbers showing us what kind of opportunity the consumer market is giving us. So this is why now we chose to share this topic with you today. So to conclude from those numbers, consumers are ready for a more sustainable fashion industry. And this provides a lot of opportunities for reimagined supply chains and new business models to be put into place. However, from where we stand, there is no clear-cut approach yet. Some businesses flourish, while others need to revisit their business models to become future-proof. And also we at Cycleon see that many brands are trying to figure out which circularity option to apply to their business. So how should the fashion industry best approach circularity? At Cycleon, we created a collaboration platform called Goodprint. And this is a collaboration channel for sustainability, where we foster collaboration between partners, clients and field experts to accelerate our positive impact together. And on this channel, we share insights, learnings and challenges from our global network. And this is one example, this webinar, of how we do this. So one of our partners is ElevenRadius. So I would like to introduce our first guest speaker of today. ElevenRadius is a hub for circularity experts to share knowledge and accelerate the adoption of circular solutions in the fashion industry. Now, Monica and Tara are co-founders of ElevenRadius, along with Asheen Fancy, who will be joining us for the panel discussion later in this webinar. Monica is a veteran brand manager with expertise in take-back and resale. And Tara has a broad expertise in sustainable design, sourcing, and supply chains. And Monica and Tara will lead you through the decision-making process of circularity and provide some advice about how to go from there. So I would like to switch the stage now to Tara, who hopefully will be able to share her screen. I hope she's in. Yes, there she is. Good. All right. So I'll stop sharing, and then Tara and Monica, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Inge. While I'm sharing my screen, we prepared a little poll just to get some feedback from the audience. So we were hoping, I believe you have that teed up and you can launch that for us.
Yes, indeed.
Great.
So all of you should be able to view the poll. I think. Let me check. Yes.
So just to give you a little bit of background, the questions on this poll are to get a sense of where everybody's at with regards to circularity, what they're familiar with, so that we can have a precedent when we explain all of the different areas of circularity and solutions. And then that way we can get a sense of where everyone's sitting. Don't think their poll is visible yet.
I don't know why it's not showing. I'll try to work on that in the background a little bit.
Okay, no problem. So because we have such a short time here, what we're going to do is we're going to give a little bit of an outline of different verticals of circularity. I don't want to jump into it too quickly because otherwise we'll give all of the answers for the poll. And I don't want to do that, but we do want to get a good sense of where everybody is at with regards to circularity. Oh, it sounds like you can go to live polls and visit it and see it there.
Yes, indeed. So the poll is live, and then people can answer their votes there. So we're getting in the answers at the moment.
Fantastic. So maybe what we'll do is give it a minute or so, since it's only 2 questions. You go to poll and then event poll. That's what everybody's saying. I think what we can maybe do, if we're not able to share the answers live on the screen, I think what we can maybe do is just walk through them. Will that work?
Yes, I think because the other ones are now published, so we're getting a lot of votes in already. And then we can go from there.
Oh, wow, that's fast. Okay, I am not seeing the responses, so I'm only still seeing the questions. Is there a way to see or maybe once it's closed?
I can close them and then you can see all the responses. I think
that's good.
We'll be able to share them then.
Okay, so I don't have the option to share them, but I can walk through them. So which of these circularity solutions are you considering for your business? So the top answer was the top answer was actually repair, which I think is great. No, I can't read. Top answer was recycling, which I'm very excited about because that's one of the ones that we're going to talk about that has, I think, a lot of challenges. then repair, and then resale. Super interesting that these are the ones that are being considered. Remake and rental, not so much love there with less than 7% each. So recycling had 30%, and then repair had 26, and then resale 23. And then actually, if I go down to which of these circularity solutions are you familiar with, that's a little bit more general. It looks like on average is about 23, 24%. So only a quarter of the replies for resale, repair, and recycle. And then remake and rental had less than 20%. Super interesting to see these responses on our end. Yeah, oh, and it looks like it's changing. And then a few unshores, which of course is normal for where we're going forward. So what I'm going to do, unless Monica, you wanted to jump in and comment on these, I'm going to start with our different verticals.
Yes, please do. I'm also surprised in the answers, Tara.
Yeah.
So just confirm that, and audience.
All right. So what we're going to do is walk you through the 5 verticals that we've identified as Second Life. And you're already familiar with them because we put them in the poll. What you'll see at the top of the slide here is these 4 different icons that ultimately we use to represent decision-making tools within these 5 verticals. So the check mark is basically a yes, let's move forward with this. Once you've made the decisions, the clock is, this is going to take some time. So maybe we have to think about it. Maybe it has to go through internal decision making. The question mark is, we're not really sure. We don't know if this is right for us. Maybe we'll think about it. And then the X is an obvious, no, this isn't a good fit. So these are the answers, but what are the questions? And this is what we really wanted to present to you to be able to have an idea of how to approach these different verticals of Next Life. So first one is resale. Because we see the most sort of uptick and adoption of resale in the market, especially in the United States. So I won't speak globally, but we'll speak about North America. Resale is having its moment right now because of access to tools. So first question to ask yourselves within the brand is, are there plug and play options available? I suppose this is a question that we ask across all of these verticals is there a company? Is there a third party? Is there an organization that can help me with this solution rather than having to do any of these ourselves as a brand internally? So yes, there are plug and play options available. Probably some of them are on this call today. If you are, just kind of shout yourselves out in the chat box. And how do they work? How do they plug into our existing e-commerce structure? And what are the pros and cons of those plug and play options? Second, is this a new customer acquisition vehicle? So can we gain access to a new customer segment that perhaps we don't have at the moment? That might be because of price. It might be because there is a growing segment of the population that really only wants to buy secondhand or what they consider to be more responsible clothing because it's used. And so is this an opportunity for brands that perhaps aren't producing using any recycled content and are really looking at maybe having a new customer acquisition for these people or part of the population that is really looking for more sustainable solutions in their purchasing and better price point? And then finally, this question that actually comes up a lot when I'm working with brands as a consultant. So are there sustainability benefits to resale? Not just resale on its own, because obviously resale has been happening for decades, if not hundreds of years in the secondary market. But for brand to have ownership over resale, is there the ability to claim sustainability benefits? It's a good question. Doesn't mean that a yes/no answer will be an obvious next step for adopting this vertical, but it is something that you want to consider so that you can communicate that outwardly. Second vertical is repair, which seems to be very popular in today's poll response. So first, is this something that our customers want from us? Secondly, is it something that our customers want for the products that they're buying from us? Is it suitable to the type of product that we make? Oftentimes we see repair come into popularity with activewear brands, outerwear brands, more durable, long-lasting goods. Denim is a classic example of robust repair programs within brands. So is this something that we really want to encourage within our customer base? And do they want to see this from us, or are they having their products repaired elsewhere? Does it fit into our existing infrastructure? So for example, are we able to adopt this as a brand? Can we do it within our stores? Can we do it within our distribution chain, in our reverse logistics? How does that work? What do we have to consider if we're going to take that responsibility? And then what will it take and how much? I suppose that's a question for all of these verticals, but specifically for this one because it's so hands-on with the product.
And I think, Tara, I'll just jump in to say that it's interesting that repair is on everyone's radar. And I just want to stress that even though there are a lot of operational challenges and costs, and of course, Willem will speak to those with the good work that they're doing at Patagonia, but repair, I want to stress, is really about the first question. Get to know whether or not this is something that your customers actually want from you and will engage with you in. That's really the most important question to even begin looking into this. So if all of you are interested in that or already doing that, I hope that you have a robust idea of how customers will engage with this service, because that is really what's going to define success.
Thanks, Monica. So next one is remake. This one is, I think, becoming a little bit more prevalent in the market as well, especially as first life for products. So upcycling is another word for remake, is the way we're looking at it. It's different from repair because it is disrupting the product itself, but generally it's completely changing it. So the equivalent to remake is really what we call upcycling, which is not a one-to-one recycling of the material or of the product, but it's making a higher value of something that maybe has a lesser value, is damaged, is unsold. This remake can come from a few different sources. It can come from unsold inventory that's left over in the warehouse. It can come from takebacks if there's a program that's already in place. Those are the two main sources for remakes. So you have to ask yourselves what special skills are needed to execute this well. That primarily lands in design and product development teams. So you really have to consider if you have that design vision internally and the bandwidth within your design team. If you don't, can you add that bandwidth? Can you add extra designers and product developers to be able to solve this? If not, can you look externally to see if there are services that will offer this? So who is best at offering this service? Who in the landscape of either your local area or your customer's local area can partner with you and still resolve the design aesthetic that's needed to maintain sort of a one-to-one ratio with the original of the brand, but by providing something new. And then finally, will this drive marketing or will this bring in new customers? Because again, maybe they're looking for more sustainably made clothing. Maybe they're looking for something that's one of a kind. Generally with upcycling and remake, you tend to have more one of a kind products. So that is a new product offering that has the potential for not only marketing, but bringing in new customers.
And I'll just add that, some sophisticated examples of this, because this is a special skill and it's very confusing what remake and upcycling mean. It can be anywhere from just patching something on a fleece to recreating new garments with a whole new look and feel from the original materials. So on the sophisticated side, I just want to point out the Patagonia Recrafted program, which is, outsourced and made by specialists that partner with Patagonia designers to really remake new garments. And then the Eileen Fisher Resewn collection, which is beautifully done to use the materials that Eileen Fisher original collection uses and then remake something completely on its own with size ratios and its own look and feel, a couple collections a year. And these two examples are really used to drive interest and maybe even a higher price point and a more fashion conscious customer to this secondhand market. So it's really great on the web to just freshen up and have new stories to tell. And they're just like, it's a whole new special kind of cherry on the cake of any secondhand program.
All right, so next one is sort of the black sheep of these verticals. It seems to be quite elusive for brands themselves. Not that rental is anything new; it's been around for decades as well. But brand-owned rental seems to be something that is a little bit more of a challenge. And we saw with the poll that there was maybe less interest or less understanding of what rental is. Is this something that customers want from us? First of all, is a question to ask. Is this potential for new customer acquisition? and who can we partner with to test it out? So obviously you're probably familiar with companies like Rent the Runway or wardrobe apps that are peer-to-peer rental for that access, but they tend to act more like retailers because they're not brand owned. So can we partner with some of these organizations to implement rental at the brand level? Is that even something that your customers are looking for us? I think an idea, or from you. So an ideal example of this, it would be outerwear that can be rented at the site of, say, a ski hill, for example, where your customers are coming from maybe a warmer climate. Not my reality right now because I'm in Montreal and it's -11 today. But if they're coming from a warmer climate and don't want to invest in outerwear for a week of skiing, then can they rent this equipment at the ski hill along with their skis, for example? So that's one example where I think rental works really, really well. Another would be in evening wear. Did you want to jump in on that one, Monica?
Nope, I agree with you.
And then finally, recycling, which is sort of the bane of my existence because I, as Inge mentioned, work in textiles and textile sourcing. And I think recycling materials, which is sort of taking apart the garments themselves, reclaiming the raw materials and then recycling them is the most sort of pure definition of what recycling is within these verticals. The question here is, I mean, in theory, it sounds like it would be simple, but the first question to really ask is there a commercially viable ecosystem around you that can not only take back the materials from your customers, but adequately and accurately sort them for fiber type? And then is there a next step in that process where those fibers can then be reclaimed and recycled, either from cotton to cotton or cotton to cellulose, polyester to polyester? And then what do we do with all the blends that exist on the market, and what technology is available or becoming available in the future that can plug into this? So who are those potential partners? Are they located regionally to your take back program, your reverse logistics? Is that even viable? Of course, when you're questioning the viability, you want to know how much it will cost and what the return on that investment will really be. And so finally, that's all of the questions that we have here. I know we're very short on time. I think we're just at time. So we want to leave this for you to overview. And we're always happy to answer questions. So if you want to contact us, feel free to take a screenshot and we will reply to any questions you may have after this, or put your questions in the Q&A box.
All right. Thanks a lot, Sarah and Monica. Very insightful. I'm going to close it now and introduce the next speaker. So I think you can see my screen now. So the next speaker is Willem from Patagonia. And he is a seasoned leader in the apparel industry and has over 20 years experience in the area of finance and operations. And his current role at Patagonia, he plays a big role in the circularity initiatives for Patagonia Europe. And besides a strong focus on all the logistical processes, he also leads all the repairs activities in Europe. And he will share how Patagonia embraced the repair part of circularity in their business model, what additional circularity aspects they have encountered, and what are the next steps for them. So I think if I stop sharing, you'll be able to take the stage, Willem, and I think that should work.
Let me have a look. Very good. I hope everyone sees the. Let me see if I can put it in presentation.
Yes.
I think it's in presentation. Very good. Thank you, Inge, and thanks, Cycleon, for kind of the opportunity to speak about this important topic. Today I'll present a little bit of history of Patagonia. The urgency of the topic, what we have done as Patagonia on circularity, and that started already a long time ago. And then using the different R's from reduce, repair, and reuse and recycle to explain a little bit Patagonia's journey on these topics. If you look at Patagonia, in 2008, our founder, Yvonne Chenard, changed our mission statement overnight. And normally when you have a change in mission, you have like a corporate deck from communications with all kind of how to interpret it. But Yvonne said, listen, you're smart people, you figure it out along the way. And if I look back, in the last 2 years, I think what it really sparked within Patagonia is that urgency, and also constantly that question, if we're doing things, are they really making an impact? And I think, Yvonne started as a climber, in the late 60s, and on, his whole started was kind of making and repairing hardware for climbers, and that's kind of the foundation of the Patagonia brand. He once went on a trip to climb the Fitzroy in Patagonia, and that was kind of the born of the Patagonia brand. One of the things that people sometimes ask is, what's the difference between Patagonia and other brands? And one of the things I think always is we're built on action. We really have, action at the front of everything that we do. And we're sometimes really reluctant to join initiatives where we feel it's a lot of talk and not a lot of action. If you look at today's textile market, and just the produce of clothing, it is 10% of the global emissions, and it's a really, really big polluter. I mean, most of the people already know on this call, but there's microfibers, there's a lot of water use in it. And once the garment is produced, a lot of it ends up in a landfill or being incinerated. In most countries, it lacks the possibility to recycle things, but also just the capabilities in the recycling are not good enough in most countries. In Patagonia, we started in 2005 with a program called Common Threads. And, when I kind of prepared for this talk, you start looking into the archives of Patagonia. And, I was just surprised by the date of 2005. That's 17 years ago. And if you just look at the different R's, this is literally from the campaign that then, and it's so real and it's so live still that, reduce, repair, reuse, it is on front of their mind. And it is too bad that it wasn't on all our minds already in 2005. If you look at one of the most important things of circularity, it really starts at not buying a jacket. Patagonia has a long history in trying to address people's consumerism. We ran this ad in 2011 on Black Friday, and it's probably one of the most famous ads that Patagonia ran. But it's not the only thing we've done over time. A couple of years ago during Black Friday, we closed all our stores and encouraged people to go into the outdoors. And we will continue in the future to really push the anti-consumerism message, because we feel that, besides all the things you can do after life and in design of a product, the best way is not just to buy the product. As said by Inge, we're really trying to double down on repairs. We created kind of a repair infrastructure across Europe where we use repair centers in different countries. One of the things that is really important with repairs is you bring your customer along. So a good infrastructure on IT, giving regular updates on repairs is very important, but also keeping the standards. We at Patagonia have chosen to outsource kind of our repair centers, but it's important to keep really tight repair standards on how a garment needs to be repaired, but also the throughput time of the repairs is important. And we face sometimes challenges across Europe, especially in non-European countries like Switzerland and UK. It's been difficult, especially the Brexit has created a lot of operational challenges across Europe. A nice initiative we've done here in Amsterdam is about 2 years ago, the Metropole region of Amsterdam created the initiative of circular textile, which was one of the Green Deal initiatives that they defined at the time. And in these discussions, the idea, and definitely supported and driven by Patagonia, was to open a repair center in Amsterdam with other brands. And the nice thing is that since January, this repair center is doing our Benelux volumes and our volumes of Germany. And other brands are doing trials, so like Scotch and Soda, Tommy Hilfiger, Nike, and O'Neill are really interested to participate. And I think this model can definitely grow and maybe duplicate it to other cities. Besides the environmental impact of this initiative, there's also a social impact and an educational impact. So on the social, we have as seamstresses people from Syria and refugees from other countries, which is a really nice way to involve these people in the Dutch society. And also from an educational point of view, what we've seen when we're trying to open repair centers in Europe, that the skill of repairing clothes is slowly dying in society. So we came up with the idea to set up kind of a repair academy. And we'll definitely see kind of how that develops in the coming years. And we're quite excited about that. If you look at reuse or, secondhand, we're also seeing that the secondhand market is really booming at the moment. In the US, we have a platform called Wornware, where we take back goods from customers. We clean them, we repair them, and resell them online. And it's a really successful story, and it has a lot of storytelling elements of it. Here in Europe, we do it a little bit smaller. We do it in our Berlin store from time to time. But one of the things that we really found out that this full operational of taking back, cleaning, and repairing and reselling is a really big operational impact. And we're more leaning towards more P2P models at the moment, like Vinted. One of the things, and this was also already said by Tara and Monica, the second-hand market is really exploding. And one of the questions that we get is, if people are only on second-hand forums to buy more, is that a good or a bad thing? I think if you realize that these 86% of the CO2 impact of a garment is in the making of a garment, I think the motivation might not be the one that we would like as Patagonia, but I think in general, keeping the products longer in play is a very good thing. I'm sure you all, know the containers on your street where you can put in old clothes. These are kind of pictures of how it ends up. And I think you see a couple of things right away. One of the things that is really difficult with the collection and the sorting of this is that it's very difficult to do the sorting automatically. And this is really a time-consuming and bottleneck in the process. Another thing that is very difficult is that there's just too much clothes. And it's very difficult to control the flows. And a lot of these flows, unfortunately, end up as landfill or incinerated. If you then come to the stage where it's sorted, the actual recycling is quite difficult. First of all, in most cases, we don't know the composition of the recycling, but also you have a lot of blended products where you have a raincoat where the polyester is a different one than the zipper, and it makes the recycling extremely difficult. And then the last element of the recycling is recycling of polyester in general is something that is in evolution at the moment. There are really good trials going on, and there is really a lot of innovative thinking there around chemical recycling of polyester, but it's still very small scale. And I think this is where the brand really can play a role to put their efforts and money behind to develop this recycling more. The last one, once it's all recycled and then kind of using the recycled fibers, is another element where the brands can play a really big role and to kind of push their supply chains to really start using these recycled fibers. If you look what's next in circularity, I think what we need to realize, in our view, circularity starts at design. It is kind of using recycled materials, making products that can be recycled, and just make better quality products. If you look at kind of keep your garments alive, we discussed repairs, the reuse, the second-hand models, which are really doing the rentals that was discussed quickly by Tara. We also see potentially rentals for kids' clothes. And then the whole recycling capabilities, where we really feel that is where there's a huge gain to be done, and where the brands can really play a really big role. Last not least, on a European level and also on local level, you see more and more enforcement of kind of the full responsibility of the life of a garment. And in the Netherlands, you have the UPV, which is the uitgebreide producentenverantwoordelijkheid. But in other countries, I'm sure you have similar thing, where the producers, where the brands will be made responsible for the total lifespan of their products. But in the end, there's the best solution for all this problem is buy less. Thank you.
Great, Willem. Thanks a lot. Very insightful. All of the things that Patagonia has already done, and also to hear the market developments and what challenges you came across in the meantime. And I think also it relates very well to what Tara and Monica were sharing, that some of these things really relate to, is your consumer ready? And that the location of where you're doing these activities really plays a big role in the success factor as well. We now have a few moments for the panel discussion. So I would also like to invite Asheen from ElevenRadius to the stage, so that he can also join the discussion here. So if you can raise your hand, Asheen, then we can invite you to the stage as well. Yes, all right. Hi, Asheen. We should be able to hear you now.
Hey, everyone.
Hi. Good to have you on board as well. So we have a few questions that we would like to discuss with all of you. The first one being, so even though we already now heard a lot about the circularity verticals and which questions to ask, which circularity do you think is the most challenging to take up? Why is that the main challenge? What is the main challenge? And do we already know how to overcome this challenge? Or is it something that we need to work together to figure out? Asheen, would you like to share which circularity challenge you think is the most prominent?
Yeah, I'd love to pick up on one Willem ended with, which is buying less. And one of the questions is about, is there a focus on keeping quality products and capping production? I think that's one of our greatest challenges, is starting with kind of the doing less bad, which is better predicting, how much to produce and what the demand will be, as well as and I know my colleagues can talk a lot about those processes and systems, as well as really just trying to convince customers that they are not consumers. They're not eating their garments. There's something left after it. There's some value remaining, and so that they should invest in fewer, higher quality items that last longer. I think that's a movement that has really started, but that's really up to us to not be swayed by cheap and quick fashions, but rather to really invest in long-term pieces that are going to remain. And then, as Tara has laid out, to really think about both as brands and consumers, to think about the second and future lives.
And then in which circularity vertical do you think that would impact most once we've made that step all together?
Yeah, it's really all of them. But Willem also mentioned design. That's one that we think is really needs to be more invested in. In each of the verticals, we see work that is being done and needs to be done. But it's not just in the design and other verticals. It's also in the collaboration among the different groups that need to speak to each other to really create solutions that are viable across the entire value chain and value web and value circle or cycle.
All right, great, thanks. Any other insights from Tara, Monica, or Willem on this topic? How do we get people to consume less and to realize that the things that they are using need to somehow be put back in the circularity circle?
I can jump in a little bit here. I think I mentioned when I was talking about the 5 verticals that that recycling was one of the biggest challenges, at least in my work. And I think it involves not only the end customer, but also the designer at the very beginning, who's creating the product using specific materials, and possibly at the moment not really taking into account second life or end of life, besides some companies like Patagonia who are really thinking 10 steps ahead, but most brands are not Patagonia, unfortunately, as much as we wish all of them to be. So I think the recycling can be quite challenging. We're starting to see a lot of research in this area with organizations like Accelerating Circularity, who are really looking at setting up landscape for and roadmap for collection and recycling. But because of the different challenges of materials, and this goes all the way to the quality of the material too. So if you're starting with a really cheaply made, poor quality material, it's going to be difficult to recuperate and add value to that, even with some of the chemical recycling technologies. And then understanding what the difference is between mechanical and chemical recycling, and applying the correct one to the materials you have. And then the biggest issue here, and it kind of conflicts with what Asheen is saying, because I think we all agree we have to consume less, is that right now the need for recycling materials also requires volume. So in this case, it can't just be one brand who's taking back clothes and just recycling their old clothes into new fibers, because it's very unlikely that they'll have enough volume of any one fiber to be able to recycle it efficiently and at cost effectively. So this is really where we need collaboration between brands and between companies, and where we really need to see different brands joining forces to solve these problems.
Great, thanks a lot. We have also questions from the audience. I think we might have time for one. So this is about the resale of items. So do you expect the resale of items to be taken up more and more by peer-to-peer, or will brands also take a bigger role in this?
Yeah, shall I try to answer that one? I think where and this market is very new. I think where it probably will also go is that brands will kind of take the technology of the P2P platforms and probably incorporate that in their own ecosystem of their website. So you probably will have the possibility when you search for a new product to say, listen, did you know that this person 20 miles away from you also has this product in this and this color? So that would be kind of an ideal ecosystem where probably brands will move to in the near future.
And I'll just add to what Willem said. We're very interested in what we call the branded peer-to-peer space, which is what Willem's saying, is that brands actually take control of the peer-to-peer marketplace, which has been around for a while, and eBay and just people swapping things. So that's not new, but we're really interested to see this space develop. I think it's relatively easy. Nothing is easy in this space, but to have a peer-to-peer plugin now, the technology solutions are really built to be very seamless. And we think it's very exciting that the brands are adopting this, because the customer and the loyal customers, especially who love a brand, are already there. And so if a brand takes control of this experience and does it the best and delights the customer, makes it easy for them to just swap closet to closet and sell to each other, we think that's very compelling. So it's something to watch that has really developed quickly in the last year, this branded peer-to-peer. And I just wanted to endorse it. We're watching it very closely.
Great. All right. Thanks, everyone. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks a lot for all of the insights. I hope that this is also giving the audience some practical examples of how to go about circularity for your business, and to learn from the experiences from Patagonia as well. We have one final poll just to get your feedback in the poll section, just to also hear what your experience was for today. And for the questions that still remain in the Q&A, we'll try to answer those also offline if possible. So thanks a lot, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks.